All right, let's go ahead and make the gauge swatch for the Thankfulness Sweater. This is the gauge that you will see listed in the pattern in the download, and it's also the gauge that you should try to match before you start making your own sweater so that you can be sure the size is going to turn out accurate. So what I'm doing is I'm simply doing a chain of about 20 plus one extra stitch because we're trying to make a piece of crochet that is at least 4 inches by 4 inches. So I just want to make a chain that is long enough so that I know when I crochet it's going to be at least that wide. And now we're working this in the griddle stitch. So I'm doing a double crochet stitch here and then a single crochet stitch, and then I'm going to repeat that across the row doing double crochet and then single crochet over and over again. So you're going to go ahead and speed up the process of me doing that, but that is the first row of griddle stitch. That's what you'll want to do. And then we only have one other row in our repeat that makes this pattern work. Simply do the row here, that's looking good, and then we're going to turn it around in just a second and do our second row, and this still looks like it is at least 4 inches wide, so that's great. I'm chaining 1 there just to get it around, and I ended my row in my first row with a single crochet stitch. And so I started with a double crochet stitch again and did the same repeat. Because in griddle stitch, if you're not already familiar with it, all you are doing is doing repeats of double and single crochet, and in each row you're going to work the single crochets into the tops of the double crochets and the double crochets in the tops of the single crochets. So you're trying to alternate those 2 stitches. Okay, so that is our 2-row repeat, and you can start to see the pattern emerging. Now all that we are going to do, all that I'm going to do, is continue it until it is at least 4 inches long or 4 inches tall. So we're simply going to repeat rows and rows of griddle stitch until it gets as tall as we need it, and then we're going to measure and figure out what our gauge is. A little bit farther, and there we go. So we've got a piece there that looks big enough. Here I'm taking my gauge ruler and I'm going to show you how I count up stitches and rows for the gauge for this sweater. So laying it on there, we're going to get a little bit closer so that you can really see this. And this ruler goes up to 4 inches. And so all I do here is I simply lay the ruler nice and straight along a row so that I can see the stitches and I can see where they fall in the middle of the work here. And I'm going to count up how many of those stitches fall in between the start and the 4-inch mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 stitches perfectly fall into that space. I'm going to go ahead and move it and test this one more time before I'm confident that that is correct. So I move it, starting with a double crochet, 3, 4, 5 at that stitch, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's definitely 12 stitches per every 4 inches here. Now what I need to do is I need to check the rows, and that turned out really nicely here because with this piece of crochet, when I turned this here, I found that my piece was exactly 4 inches tall. The piece that I did is 11 rows tall. So the final gauge for this sweater that we're working off of is 12 stitches and 11 rows for a 4 by 4 inch piece.